Hi everyone, today let's talk about the CAVA stock, then we'll go over the economic calendar, and then we'll see how we did for Max Payne. Then we'll go over the charts, then we'll look at my results for the day and my thoughts going into Monday's session. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day that the markets are open as well as Sundays, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So there was a Mediterranean restaurant chain called CAVA, and it IPO'd and soared 117% on its offering. So it does seem like there's a little bit of froth in the market. Once again, we're starting to see some IPOs, and they are going up quite a lot very quickly. The chain is now valued at $2.45 billion. And they mention here this snapped the IPO market's drought. Stock closed at $43.78 after it IPO'd at $22. It was expected to offer between 19 and 20, and it shot up quite a lot. The ticker is CAVA, and you can see kind of what that looked like. Shot up to those super high numbers around 45.5. And you can see after hours here, it is moving down a little bit, but still much higher than its IPO price. It was founded in 2006, and it's kind of modeled off of Chipotle, and it also acquired Zoe's Kitchen in 2018. So overall, a little bit of froth in this market. It's a food company, nothing mind-blowing, but it doubled on IPO. Moving over to the economic calendar, we had a couple of Fed members speak this morning. Consumer sentiment and expectations, better than expectations here from Michigan. So some good data out for the economy, but nothing major. Looking at the Fed policymakers' speeches from this morning, basically they said core inflation is not coming down and that they're still going to raise rates even after the pause. So it looks like we're going to get that pause like we talked about, where we get a pause this month and then another hike potentially next month. We'll see how that plays out, but it does seem like we're going to get a hike in July. They mention here the US economy is still doing pretty well for the most part, while prices are moving sideways. So overall, high inflation, but it is moving in the right direction very slowly. Moving over to Max Payne, you can see that put-call ratio shot up here today. We only saw a little bit of weakness in markets. Max Payne went up to 424. We still finished way above that. And you can see here we kind of finished in between these two levels. These puts were mostly sold today. We looked at the charts yesterday and they weren't here. 436, 437 is kind of what we were looking at, and we weren't very far off of that. Any puts that you sold over the course of the week probably were profitable. Overall, still a very high finish for Max Payne. And I just want to highlight how different it looks for next week. Put call ratio still super high at 430, but look how few options there are in the markets going into next week. Basically no calls, quite a bit of puts, but only 750,000 options. Moving over to the charts, starting off with the S&Ps here on the hourly, you can see we actually made a lower high, got below my level of 439.98. We're still above the 55, so we could absolutely see a bounce from here. If we get above this level, just around that 440, I'll be looking for a push up to 445. If we stay below this level, then I'm looking for a bigger pullback to the 144 or this level here at 433. So pretty pivotal level. If it breaks down, we could see much lower lows. If we rally, looking at about another 1.5% higher. And then looking at the weekly chart, you can see this structure. We've overthrown this top trend line. We're hitting that key resistance, and we did close below it, and it does seem like we're going to see a little bit of weakness going into next week. Moving over to the Qs on the hour and the daily, you can see the hour also selling off a little bit stronger. It was an even top here in the pre-market. Then we sold off from that level, very key level, still above 365.80, so we're right in the middle of this zone, and I'll continue to trade it as such if it looks that way going into Monday. On the daily chart, it does look a little bit weaker. We got that gap up and then sold off. Last time we got something like that, we still rallied in the days to come, but that was at the 9 EMA, so maybe we pull back to that level around 360. Overall, still very overbought, and volume on that down candle today was pretty high. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, you can see the Russell's been chopping in this zone for a while. Does look quite a bit weaker than it has, and it looks like we are going to see that bigger pullback, potentially to 183.28 or even deeper. We're still well above the 55 and 144 EMAs, so still bullish, but you can see momentum moving lower, RSI also moving lower, despite price hanging in this zone. Dow threw some wicks and moved lower as well. And we also got below 343.23 on the day, just barely below it. And honestly, I'm still bullish on the Dow, but you do have to recognize we are below that level. and you want to see it get back above there before we turn bullish up to 347. Moving over to Apple and Tesla, big wick in the morning, pulled back to trend support, still grinding. Momentum slightly bearish, RSI still very bullish. Looking at Tesla, we got the gap up, put a wick to some most recent highs, still looking at 264.68 as resistance. Momentum continuing to step down a little bit. RSI still super overbought, and it does seem like we're going to get a little bit of a consolidation at resistance, and we'll be waiting to see how much of a pullback we get, if it just chops here and then pushes higher, or if it chops here, breaks down, finds a higher low, and then gets a continuation. Something like that is what I think is going to happen. Moving over to staples and discretionary. Staples continues to rally, looks good. Discretionary rallied a little bit, but still below this trend resistance. Waiting to see what happens. We did get above 166.78, so that's a nice close. You can see that big push after hours, which is interesting. Right at that key level, if we get a rejection from there, it could be pretty bearish. We're definitely extended. RSI also overbought still. Momentum definitely a little bit bearish. Of course, the trend here is still super bullish, so don't get short until we see those bigger reversal signals. Moving over to the dollar, we got a little bit of a bounce. Looks kind of like a bear flag on the 4-hour chart. Chop in this zone. If we get a continuation lower, still looking at 101.25 here. If this sets up as a higher low, that would be interesting. And then if we get a continuation higher, that might show some weakness in equities. But right now, everything is still bearish going into Monday's session. Looking at JNK and TLT, JNK showing some signs of reversal. Got a big red candle. Fully engulfing, definitely not what you want to see. Momentum stepping down, RSI moving lower. It was on small volume, about half of the volume of the previous day, which is interesting. Could be a consolidation and a continuation type move. If we see that follow through and volume starts to pick up, that could be a little bit more bearish. TLT, on the other hand, still above this support line at 102.50. It certainly looks like we're going to get another push back up to this 103.70, just like we saw on Thursday. Moving over to the volatility indices, not much to say. Everything is cratering on both of these. Not a lot of fear in the markets, and it continues to go lower. Looking at my accounts, I had a small profit on the day, not too bad. Really, I had some losses in my Roth. I got chopped around on that position, and it was kind of upsetting. I ended up just buying 100 shares here at 186.13. It was going up pretty nicely after hours like we saw on the charts. It did pull back a little bit at the end of the after hours session. I did sell a 187 call, so I do have a little bit of protection there. We talked about how it looked a little bit weaker, and if I have to roll this down to get a little bit more credit on that position, I'm not opposed to that, so I'll be playing a little bit of defense. Looking at the Q's position, I was also playing a little bit of defense here today. I let those 2 covered calls go. I did not roll them out in time. I also had a 369 call on this 100 shares that I let expire all the way. I rolled that down from 370, so got a nice credit on that. And then I also put on a 369 call for Monday for $180. And I also have a put down here at 365 for 52 cents. So looking to enter a position a little bit lower or play for at least a little bit of a bounce on Monday on the Qs. You can see we were both bearish, but not by very much. Overall, mostly neutral, maybe even a little bit bearish going into the Monday session. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of CAVA or the IPO market as a whole. Are we starting to get a little bit frothy and we have a big leg to the upside coming? Or is this more of a topping formation and we should be more cautious? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.